Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center. Today on the program is a Friday edition of the program. We're going to look at the state of the nation from all sides. What's playing out in politics, in the economy, the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, as well as some happenings within the South-South region as long as the political party is concerned. But first, let's bring you up to speed with some of the stories we've been tracking today. And the court is where we start off from, where the Court of Appeal in Abuja has halted the reinstatement of Alhaji Muhammad Sanusi II as the Emir of Kano. The three-member panel of justices led by Justice Okonabang on Friday unanimously halted the implementation of the January the 10th judgment, which vacated the nullification of Sanusi III appointment by a Kano State High Court, which it held was done without jurisdiction. The judgment was delivered by Justice Gabriel Kolawole, held that the nullification of Sanusi's appointment was done without the required jurisdiction and ordered the transfer of the suit to the Kano State High Court. However, ruling on a fresh application, the appellate court agreed that the application seeking to hold the enforcement of the earlier judgment pending the appeal before the Supreme Court were competent as well as meritorious. So that's as far as we know, as far as that issue around the tussle over who is the Emir of Kano is concerned between Sanusi and Ado Bayero, the two people who are laying claim to that revered throne. But let's tell you what is playing out in Rivers State. The drama in Rivers State appears far from over. We've always said this, but the closure is not closing anytime soon, if you allow me to use that language, because the Rivers State governor has again written to the Rivers State House of Assembly proposing Wednesday, March the 19th, 2025 as a new date for the presentation of the 2025 budget or any other day or date that is convenient or preferred by the lawmakers in the month of March. In a letter addressed to the Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Martin Zameule, Governor Fubara recalled his earlier attempt to present the budget on March the 12th, which was unsuccessful due to being denied access or entry into the assembly premises. He stated that despite prior delivery of a soft copy notice and efforts to submit a hard copy through the clerk, he and his entourage were locked out. The governor emphasized that his attempt was in compliance with a Supreme Court judgment, which he noted had also mandated the assembly to carry out functions within the constitutional boundaries. But that's not all. While that was happening, the Rivers State House of Assembly has passed 3 bills into law. The bills which were so passed include the Rivers State Powers and Privileges Bill 2025, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission Bill 2025, and the Rivers State Local Government Bill 2025. We don't know the content yet. After the presentation of the bills to the Speaker, his remarks that the 3 new bills are designed to improve the legal capacity of the state so they can move forward. He then adjourned sine die. That simply means they've adjourned indefinitely. So let's break this down. The governor has written, say, I want to come on Wednesday or any other date of your choice. While he wrote that letter, the House member sat and said, well, these are the bills we want you to assent to, but while you are trying to contemplate whether you assent to it or not, we have adjourned indefinitely. This drama is far from over. Well, still in Rivers State, the Independent National Electoral Commission has released the updated register of voters for Rivers State, along with a list of registered political parties in Nigeria to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission ahead of their forthcoming local government elections. In a letter dated March 13th and signed by the Administrative Secretary, Odo Napoleon Emezurike, INEC officially notified the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission of the release. The letter addressed to the RISEC chairman confirmed that a soft copy of the voter register had been provided in response to the Commission's request. Following this development, RISEC issued a press release announcing the receipt of the updated register from INEC headquarters. The updated voter register now in place, RISEC restates its commitment to ensuring that there will be a smooth electoral process in Rivers State as they intensify preparations ahead of the polls. So, literally, an avalanche of things that has to do with Rivers State. We have not even talked about what is playing out between the assembly members and the chief judge, which I understand they've written to the DSS to investigate alleged aid forgery. So, yeah, but that's not what we're going to talk about today on the program. We're going to talk politics, but let's bring you on our political round of stories.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, is urging political parties to engage in healthy opposition for the sake of democracy. Mr. Idris made the remark when he received a delegation from the Interparty Advisory Council in his office in Abuja. The minister knows that a healthy opposition is a fertilizer required for the growth of democracy, emphasizing the importance of all political parties forming a unity of purpose to move the nation forward.
Without political parties, democracy will not stand. But we also know that once elections are over, it is also necessary that parties allow whoever they want.
The Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, is appealing to President Bola Tinubu to prevail on the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, to engage with its Peace and Reconciliation Committee to resolve the political crisis in Rivers State. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Victor Atta, who heads the forum's Peace and Reconciliation Committee, alleged that Mr. Wike is not willing to meet with the committee to de-escalate tensions in the state.
Should this fail, PANDEF would have no other choice than to disband the Peace and Reconciliation Committee and withdraw totally from any attempt to resolve this unfortunate logjam in Rivers State.
The Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, has advised leaders and stakeholders from the Imo East Senatorial District to avoid actions that could heat up the political space in Imo State in their quest to produce a governor from the zone in 2027. Governor Uzodinma made this known during a meeting with leaders of the zone at the government house in Owerri, the state capital. He emphasizes that he deserves the support of all stakeholders to continue his development strides across the state.
First thing to do is to create the awareness, consult, reconcile, unite, be a brother's keeper. You find out that not only that it will be cheaper for all of us.
A group of women today stormed the UN House in Abuja protesting the way the petition of the senator representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, alleging sexual harassment by the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, was treated. The women are urging Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan to provide the needed evidence to support her allegations to aid the investigation and prosecution of the Senate President. The group maintains that failure to do so will put women who come forward in the future with such allegations in bad light.
As women, we are here to support her. All we're appealing for, Senator Natasha should just bring an evidence that these happen, even if it's words, it be a video, it be a conversation recorded, because for mine, for that 2 years, I had recordings back to back. I think this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly, but everybody around me knew what I survived, you know. So we're here because she's already come to the UN.
Welcome back. Ness, I told you we're talking about the state of the nation. It's a part two conversation. First, we talk about the state of the nation, and then we'll look at the state of the People's Democratic Party in the south region of the country, because there's a division. Well, let's use that word cautiously. But right here in our Lagos City, I have joining me as we talk about what's going on in our country. Senator Onyekachi Nwebonyi is a senator representing Ebonyi North Senatorial District, and is also the Senate Deputy Chief Whip. Senator, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, my dear brother, for having me.
I'm sure there's a lot of business for you coming into Lagos, because I know that we always speak to you from Abuja. But let's begin with some of the things that are just playing out from the chambers, for instance, without going to some of the things I'm sure that the Senate has made some decisions over. And yesterday I was having a conversation with my guest, and one of the things he raised is to the effect that I don't know, maybe give us the exact record. How many times vote of confidence has been passed on Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President? He said if there's too consistency in the passing of vote of confidence, there's trouble. How would you assess that assertion?
Well, in the parliament, it's our tradition and custom to pass vote of confidence to leaders when members of parliament feel that the leader is doing well. And in the case of the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, everybody knows that the 10th Senate, like he said at the beginning, is a corrective Senate. We are there to serve Nigerians. We are there to make policies and laws that will actually give Nigerians nothing but good governance. And for some time now, the 10th Senate have been doing that undistracted. And that is why from time to time, we pass that vote of confidence to him. Because if you watch what happened in yesterday's plenary, there was no dissenting voice. All the 109 senators said that, Mr. President, you are doing well.
It can't be 109, 108 actually.
Of course, because he was not there.
Yeah.
And if you watch, he was not even the one presiding during that vote of confidence. So that goes to show that he's at home with us, and we're also at home with him.
This vote of confidence is necessitated by the allegations of Senator Natasha Akpoti, isn't it?
No, far from that. The allegation of Senator Natasha is a complete falsehood, which we've put behind us.
You're already passing judgment on a case that is still subject of investigation, even
Well,
within the...
I'm entitled to my opinion.
Okay, your opinion.
Yes, and moreover, I'm also a star witness in that case, and I can tell you, but I don't want to delve into that, because as part of our resolution yesterday is to put that behind us so that we can actually serve Nigerians in line with our mandate, because our mandate is to make laws and guide the executive, all geared towards giving Nigerians the best, not to discuss issues we know that is a complete falsehood and goes to no issue.
I'll leave it to your opinion, but I'll also be cautious to the effect that it's still under investigation by the same Senate, because I know she resubmitted that particular petition,
yes,
and it was accepted and forwarded to the committee that is in charge of ethics and all of that. So help me help Nigerians understand how it will work. She's been suspended for 6 months.
Yes.
And then the committee is supposed to report back in 4 weeks. Is she not supposed to, and she's not supposed to appear at the premises of the National Assembly. So are you going to effect that? How does it work?
If she's invited by the committee, she has a right to appear. She's suspended from the ordinary businesses of the parliament. But if she's invited to come and give her own side of the story or to come and prove her case in line with her petition, she has a right to appear, before the committee. So she's not been stopped, from appearing before the committee.
So when principal officers like you will use assertions like it is falsehood, it is this, don't you think it is going to influence, it's already fait accompli, whatever the investigation is going to be at the end of the day? Why are you taking a side already in a situation that is still under investigation by the Senate?
Well, I'm entitled to my opinion. And without delving into the merit of the case, that is for a committee to do. But I can tell you authoritatively that in criminal prosecution, that's what we call prima facie evidence. If there is no prima facie evidence, that is evidence on the surface, then there is no case. Because I must tell you, she knows quite all right that what she's saying is to divert attention. But we're not disturbed. We're not disturbed because we know the truth.
So 2 more questions on this issue. First, is Senator Akpabio going to be investigated by the Ethics Committee? Is he going to testify, just like she will be invited to testify?
All the parties involved will appear before the committee, including the Senate President. He will come and testify, and his testimony will be recorded. Likewise, other senators, because on the alleged date of the incident, so many senators were there. So, for example, I'm one of the star witnesses. I will come and tell the world, which I have been telling the world, what I saw. But we have put that.
Akwa Ibom?
Of course. I even drove in the same car with
Were you there for every step of the way? Both
from beginning to the end, and we went back in the same vehicle. I was the closest person to her that day.
Okay. So, away from that in a moment, what do you think the perception of Nigerians is to how the Senate or the National Assembly responds to concerns about women? Because there's a perception out there, whether that perception is true or false. Do you understand what the perception is? And how is the Senate handling it?
Our view towards women is to accommodate them more in politics. And just a few days back, we had a gender equality bill that was introduced by the Senate Committee Chairman on Women Affairs. And we have also interacted with other parliaments across the world. And we are going to take that step to make sure that women are given more seats in the parliament. For example, in a place like Morocco, there are some reserved seats for women because in most cases, women find it difficult to win an election. So in such cases, there are some positions, seats allotted to them in the parliament through appointive processes, whereby the executive, through executive fiat, will appoint females, senators or House of Rep members to come to the parliament, not necessarily going through election. So these are the things we have in stock for Nigerian women. And I must tell you, the 10th Senate is working towards that. And at the end of the day, you will see the difference.
So exactly what do you mean by bringing more women? As we speak now, let's begin with the chambers, the red chambers. You have only 4 women.
Yes.
An abysmal number, worse than the previous 9 Senate, for instance. And now one is even suspended. So there are just 3 of them there in the Senate.
Yes.
So when you say you're giving women more seats, what exactly do you mean? Are you saying each state has 3 senatorial districts? Are you going to give 1 to a woman mandatorily, whether it's tokenism or not? What exactly is the structure or the proposition in that bill?
Well, if you listen to what I said earlier, I said in some areas it is difficult for women to win election into political positions, maybe based on religion or tradition. For example, in northern part of the country, some people see it as abnormally for a woman to rule over a man.
But that's changing. The deputy governor of Kaduna.
Exactly, but I'm just telling you. So, and I said that in some countries, they have some executive fiat processes of bringing women more into politics. For example, Morocco and Tanzania, they used to appoint some women into the parliament. So, and we are thinking towards that. Do you understand? But unfortunately, the attitude of some women, which is some of the matters at hand, is very, very discouraging. A situation where a woman, because of one reason or the other, will accuse a prominent leader of sexual harassment is a minus. Because we expect Nigerian women to rise up against this, especially when somebody has formed a habit. Let me come.
No, you can't discountenance her reality, Senator. Whether that reality of hers is true or false, you can't discountenance it and then use that as a premise for generalization.
I didn't generalize, but I said it is discouraging. It is discouraging.
Are you saying that men, okay, let's leave the sexual allegation. Men have also stood up to the Senate president or the leadership of the Senate. They've even been suspended. Have we ever said that the attitude of this man is discouraging men from coming into the Senate?
No.
That is the way women see when men make these arguments. I hope you understand.
No, you can see that the ground for the suspensions are different.
We understand that.
Yes, so get that very well, because the fact in the issue determines the reaction. So these are 2 different circumstances. But what I'm saying is that the attitude of some women may discourage men from giving them such opportunity. So it is therefore very important that any woman that finds herself in political corridor should live above board so as to encourage men to give them more support. That is just the impression I'm trying to make. Not that we're going to generalize because one woman is accusing men of sexual harassment, that all other women are going to toe the same line. No. But I said it is quite unfortunate and discouraging, in knowledge of the fact that the accusation is a complete falsehood, and this is a person that is known for doing this as a business, a serial blackmailer, and the records are there. So I expect Nigerian women, yes.
You're making a strong allegation.
Very, very strong. This is not the first time. This is not the first time.
Allegations you can't substantiate.
No, I can. I can tell you.
What is the allegation?
One of your colleagues, Serena Omokri, was accused by the same woman, but as God will have it...
I haven't worked with Omokri, by the way.
Yes, as God will have it, this woman was in the U.S. And when she discovered that the man had evidence to rebut her claim, she quickly pulled out her claim and later paid compensation to the young man. That is number one. I can name them. There's so many.
So your premise of passing your verdict on Senator Natasha Akpoti is the fact that she failed in proving the case of Reno Omokri, so she has already failed in Senator Akpabio's
because it never happened.
Well, anyway, you were not there where everything...
But we know how that one ended, and I can name more.
You know why I'm pushing on this conversation?
Yes.
Because when we listen to plenary and hear the way some of the men speak and some of the things that are being done,
yes,
we know the suspension was based on, quote-unquote, parliamentary behavior.
Simple.
Yes, that was where the suspension happened. Yes. But this is a different kettle of fish, which is still a subject of investigation that may become a subject of adjudication at the end of the day. So passing judgment and the attitude towards it and calling her a serial liar and all of this is almost fit accomplished to the community.
I want to ask you a question.
No, I'm the one asking questions.
But I can say ask you. Has she reported that matter to any law enforcement agent in Nigeria?
But she has reported it to the Senate.
She
has reported it to the Senate.
She's just doing media trial to cause damage.
No, facts on ground.
Yes.
Has she reported it to the Senate or not?
She has.
So why don't you wait for that investigation to complete?
Until then.
Okay. Let's move on now to other issues.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the issue of a legislature and executive relationship.
Yes.
I know that senators have been bashed most of the time as to being rubber stamp. All kinds of names have been called. And, of course, there's also that pushback from senators. If you are assessing this 10th Assembly, because we're going to midterm already,
Good.
by May, June, yours will be June,
yes.
The president's will be May, would you say this Senate, as is constituted and led by Senator Godswill Akpabio, has been able to defend Nigerians the way they should defend Nigerians? And tell us how.
I must tell you, the 10th Senate, under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio, have been able to do that perfectly well. Of course, you understand that our roles can be categorized into three: to oversight the executive, to make laws, and to represent our individual constituencies. In terms of making laws, you agree with me that within the period under review, we passed so many laws. Let's start with the 2025 appropriation bill. We had to scrutinize that presentation to make sure that it meets the demands of Nigerians. And if you look at it, the provision made for infrastructure development is more than what we have been saying before, because this is what we need at a time as a nation. And I must give it to the president. Some call us rubber stamp Senate. It is not so. If the executive is doing what we feel is good for the people, we are duty-bound to support them and back them through the proper lawmaking process. And the president will have, as of today, I'm not saying this because I'm an APC senator, but when something is good, please appreciate it. We now have a president in the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is taken outside the box, not somebody who is just sitting there as a president and everything goes. If you look at his economic policies and programs, you see somebody that wants us to shift from where we are to the next level, because we inherited a very bad economy.
From the APC?
Oh, I don't want to go to that.
No, let's put the facts straight. From the APC?
Not the APC, of course. PDP has been in power for 16 years.
APC was in power for how many?
Just for 8 years. Just for 8 years.
So Muhammadu Buhari, well, I mean, how much correction did he do to the PDP destruction?
Let me come. Let me lay the background.
Okay.
Let me lay the background. If you look at the economic policies of President Tinubu, he started by removing fuel subsidy. And you agree with me that this has been an economic virus that is hampering our development as a nation. But he courageously removed that fuel subsidy. Yes, the price of fuel went very high, over 1,000 naira. But today, the price of fuel is going towards 800 to 700 naira. And we believe that they continue to go down. And this has given an opportunity for private refineries to come up, thereby introducing competition within fuel subsidy. Yes, the price of fuel went very high, over 1,000 naira. So that have introduced competition in the industry, and that is what we want. Outside that, you can see what is coming up now with the tax bill reform, law. This tax reform bill will be a game changer because it will do two things significantly. One is going to shift the tax burden from the poor and place it on the bourgeoisie. Two, it is going to encourage competition, healthy competition within the federating states of the federation. Do you understand? So, meaning that companies that earn less than 50 million annually will be exempted from paying tax. Our mothers that sell vegetable in the market will be exempted from paying tax. You as a civil servant that earns less than a million naira, or whatever, annually, will be exempted from paying tax. You see, it's going to create a more enabling environment for business to thrive. This is what we want. And that is why, as a parliament, having seen that the policies and programs of the executive is for the people, we must support them.
One of the promises the president made is that he has consistently maintained that, look, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging. He's confessed.
Good, at the beginning.
But the cushioning effect has not been sufficient enough. And it made it look, or from people who even dare to allude to the fact that it wasn't well thought through, which is why we're where we are. Because this is like, we're not back to somewhere we dug deep and we're trying to come out of the hole.
Very good.
Does the National Assembly see that to check the leadership of our country to say, these interventions that you put in place to help one way
Revive
or
the
the
economy.
other,
Yes.
to help support the vulnerable, how effective is it in your view?
Well, it's very, very effective. You can see that the price of goods are automatically coming down, starting with food. Before now, prices, for example, 50 kg of rice was going for 95,000 naira. But today it's 72,000 naira.
And that's coming down.
It's coming down significantly.
From where did it go?
From 95,000 to 75,000.
From where did it go to 95?
I wouldn't know, but at least...
No, you should know.
We had to start somewhere. When he came into power, and to where we are today. So you can see a significant shift towards things getting better. So his policies and programs are actually working. And if you are honest to yourself, if you are not partisan, you will give it to President Tinubu.
It's interesting how better is now defined as something that was 25,000, for instance, went to 90, 120,000, and in your books came to 75 is better. Help us explain what your definition of better is.
Based on where you started.
Okay.
Based on where you started. When President Tinubu came to power, we'll buy rice at 95,000 naira per bag. But today, it's going for 72,000 to 75,000.
100,000.
Yes. It's coming down. And it will continue to come down. And moreover, let me remind you, like I've always said, there are some rules we expect government to play, and there are ones the citizens should play. Do you know why the price of goods were skyrocketing? Because our morale towards agriculture is less than 10%.
Are you aware that because of these policies as well, a lot of businesses have closed down, they've gone out of business. It's difficult for some to even maintain. And some are being forced to diversify. Some are trying to just look for a level of buffer to support their businesses just to thrive. People are now rescaling. It's quite challenging. Electricity bill is very high. I'm sure you use Ban A because you're a big man, so I expect you to use Ban A. If you don't use Ban A, that should be an aberration. It's expensive. Yes. Now, there are neighborhoods where you have a combination of big men and not too rich people, and they are paying Ban A. Things are actually really difficult. And sometimes when we speak to people in government, people in authority, and you continue to say things are getting better, it's almost infuriating to Nigerians. Don't you think so? Well,
one thing you should not rule out is that inflation is part of economic indices that is not created or caused by government. There are some internal factors that bring about inflation. But it's the duty of government, to work around all these indices and make life better, for citizens. Now, if you come to power supply, you agree with me that we have made a very significant improvement in terms of power supply. You agree with me? I may not have the data here, but that is the truth. So, government having done that, we believe that over time, all those things will take care of itself. But as to whether things are difficult, I agree with you. Things are difficult. But those difficulties were not created by the present government. It is something that came up over time. But with the policies and programs of President Tinubu, I must tell you, Nigeria is on the rise.
There are a couple of other questions. I'm literally almost out of time, but I must ask you a few of them, and that has to do with electoral reforms.
Yes.
We've seen that a bill, I think it was yesterday, that was sponsored by a senator from Katsina, who talked about early voting.
Exactly, for special people on special assignment.
People on special assignment. Now, I want to know how politicians are viewing this, because we've made some improvements in our electoral system, but we have a lot of challenges within our electoral system that can be improved upon. And one of the things we're looking out for is the reform that this government is bringing into place to efficiently make sure that the process is transparent. It's great to have early voting. Why isn't the National Assembly pushing for a legislation to ensure that IREV has the same power or authority in terms of evidence of where we can get results from EC8A? Because according to the Supreme Court, IREV is just a viewing portal. And if there was any innovation by INEC, it was the IREV to bring transparency and credibility.
Of course.
But INEC blew it in the last presidential election and has dampened confidence of the people. Why isn't the National Assembly pushing to insist that IREV is not going to be just a viewing portal, but part of the collating system so that we can have transparency?
Of course, IREV is one of the collecting points of result. In fact, it is most reliable result.
It's not tenable in court, by the way.
Well, I'm not a judge, but the essence of bringing that electronic form of result transmission is to ensure transparency in our electoral process. And it's part of the areas we are going to review. And outside that, we're also going to make election less expensive. You agree with me that we used to have an election on 2 occasions. That is the presidential and national assembly, then the governorship and the state assembly election on 2 different days. We are looking towards consolidating these 5 elections in 1 day. This will save costs. This will save time. This will, encourage people to participate more in politics. So, and this is very, very significant. And as I'm talking to you, it's one of the areas we are going to look at, including that IRF you mentioned, because it's very key. And with the consultations we've made, because as Parliament, we also make consultations with the public through the process of public hearing. When that comes, we are going to get more inputs, from the public, particularly the experts, on how best we can give Nigerians, in a well-reformed electoral act that can stand the test of time.
Let me add another assignment to it,
yes, which
Nigerians are interested in. I think Nigerians are more interested in transparency, yes, and how electoral officers or commissioners are appointed, including the INEC chairman. His tenure ends, I think, in December also. Yeah. That's Professor Mahmood. Is the Parliament also thinking of a way of implementing that Justice Uwe's report, where yes, it's going to pass through the agency and not the direct appointment of the president?
We are thinking towards that, because it's a well-known fact that if you want INEC to be independent, the process of appointing the INEC chairman must, be different from what we have today. And it's one of the areas we're going to incorporate in the reform of the Electoral Act.
We'll hold you to that. But in winding down, let's go back to the Senate and some of the things that have arisen from this Senator Akpabio saga is the rules of the Senate.
Yes.
Let's talk about suspension. Is it fair that the quote-unquote attitude, behavior of a legislator will cost constituents 6 months of voicelessness in the Parliament? Remove Senator Natasha's case. Everybody that has been suspended one way or the other, of course, most of them have challenged it in court, and court has said 14 days and all of that. But you have always argued that you are given the latitude to extend it the way you want. Is it fair to suspend a legislator for 6 months?
Well, the suspension of a legislator is a punishment meted on such a legislator as a person.
Affecting the constituents?
It's not affecting the constituents, because what's supposed to go to the constituents will definitely go to them. For example, the zone intervention program, whether the senator is under suspension or not, it must go to that zone. And the essence of us suspending our colleagues is to ensure orderliness and decorum. Just like in NUJ where you belong, you have your rules and regulations. If you go foul of any of your rules, there are punishments.
No, it's not the same scenario.
No, I'm coming.
People elected.
I'm just giving you an
just hold on.
Yes.
The point is, you have a tripartite role,
yes,
representation, yes, legislation, and oversight.
Yes.
So maybe others can go on, but representation
it will guide the people in electing such person next time. Because if somebody elected to represent you is putting you to shame, you have to review the nomination during the next election. And that is why we have a recall process. If somebody is suspended, it means that they're not doing well. And the constituents have the right to recall you and put another person that will not be suspended.
All right, Senator.
I expect you to go to the merit of our rules, because you journalists, you don't look at those rules. For example, Order 6, Rule 1, yes, Order 6, Rule 2. We expect you to juxtapose the provisions of these rules with what happened in the Parliament. But unfortunately, we don't see you going towards that direction.
There's no debate as to the issue of
violation of the rules.
Conduct.
Good.
What people are interested in
but
is sexual harassment.
No, you should. That is not the issue. No, that one is to divert attention.
No.
And they are falling into it.
They are all issues.
No, we expect the press to blow the other one up.
It is you that will blow your case. You are the one that will blow your case.
Why are you blowing her case in this case?
No, because I have told you that on the parliamentary conduct, yes, it was very clear. We watched the plenary where...
Very good.
Senators,
where she violated the rules.
Senators on all sides seem to have agreed, and some were appealing that it should be reduced.
Good.
So there was no debate as to that effect. The one that is of interest to people, because of the perception of the National Assembly about women, is the sexual harassment.
It's complete falsehood, and we are put it behind us. We don't want to go into that. We are there to serve Nigerians, not to to discuss triviality.
Women are very important in the politics. You can't
Yeah, of course. She's not the only person there.
We're going to come back and talk about this maybe some other time. I must thank you for coming on the program. And whatever you came to Lagos for, we wish you the very best. Senator Onyeka Chinwe-Bonye represents Ebonyi North Senatorial District and is the Senate Deputy Chief Whip. Wish you the best, sir.
Thank you, my dear brother. God bless Nigeria.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Now, when we come back, we'll talk about what's playing out in the South as far as PDP is concerned. Join us again in just a moment. Welcome back. Let's talk PDP politics. We spoke about it yesterday, but this time it has to do with the South region of the country. I'm being joined in the program by Mr. George Turner. He's the PDP South Zonal Secretary. He joins us via Zoom, as well as Bishop Etimante. He's the immediate past PDP South Publicity Secretary. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program and appreciate your patience.
Thank you. Glad to have you. Good evening, Nigerians.
All right, let me start with you, Mr. Turner. I want your reaction, literally your immediate reaction as to what played out. I know that the tenure of the zonal officers has ended, I think on the 6th of March, and then there was a Congress held, and I think Mr. Dan Obi was re-elected, as well as yourself was in that ESCO, and we saw top political officers as well, including the FCT minister. But a few days ago, we saw that the chairman, acting chairman, national chairman of the party, did not recognize our Congress and has actually set up a caretaker committee in the zone. How is your camp receiving this? Mr. Turner, that's for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. As you rightly noted, there was a zonal congress for the PDP, which held in Calabar on the 22nd of February this year. Where, as you rightly noted, of course, Chief Dan Obi was re-elected, and myself as secretary of the zone. Now, there is no vacancy. What the national chairman did by inaugurating a caretaker committee is completely unlawful and illegal. There cannot be a caretaker where there is no vacancy. Is it a fact that a Congress did hold in Calabar, Cross Rivers? Yes. Is it a fact that there could be some disagreements between the zonal leadership and the national leadership as to all about the conduct of that Congress? Yes. You know, is it a fact that Chief Dan Obi is re-elected and is in office as of today? Yes. Now, these issues have found their way, you know, before a competent court of law, you know, and they are now sub judice. So one would have expected that a party, you know, like PDP, which of course founded the rule of law, will now allow the judicial system, you know, to resolve the disputes. Even the Nigerian states and the federating units, you know, the states of the federation can disagree.
So let me ask you, Mr. Turner, before I go to Mr. Bishop Ante, the bone of contention, if I understand very well, has to do with who conducts zonal Congress election. How does it work within the party, the PDP, according to your constitution? And that's the same question I'll ask Mr. Ante.
Thank you very much. Now, it takes a process. First is that the guideline has to be approved, you know, by NEC. The guideline for the conduct of elections has to be approved by NEC. Now, a guideline was approved, and the national communicated the zonal chairman by a document signed by the national organizing secretary of the party to say that, look, NEC have approved guidelines for the conduct of 2025 congresses for South-South Zone. And you are now directed by the relevant provisions of the Constitution to now take up the processes of conducting a free, credible, and transparent election. Now, based on that document, the Constitution now is that Article 27 clearly states that the Zonal Executive Committee is vested with the powers to convey Congress. Now, Article 28 gives the power to elect new officers of the Zonal Working Committee to the Congress. You now convey this executive committee that has the power to fix Congress for the purpose of election.
Mr. Turner.
The Constitution is very clear. I'm coming, sir.
No.
The Constitution is very clear that it is at the instance of the National Vice Chairman who called for the Zonal Executive Committee. That was what we did.
All right, let's take it to Bishop. Just you've landed on your thought. Let's take it to Bishop. What's your take? Because this is the bone of contention, from what I understand, as to who conducts the zonal congress of any zone. Because the National Working Committee is no longer recognizing that zonal congress, has now set up a caretaker committee led by Mr. Emmanuel Ogidi. So, when it comes to the Constitution, from where you sit, what does your Constitution say, and what was wrong here that they did that was would I call it to overwrite? The NWC actually just decided, I'm trying to be careful with my words, decided to set up a caretaker committee instead of recognizing the Congress that held. Mr. Bishop.
Thank you very much. The issue, or there are fundamental issues as far as political parties are concerned and the management thereof. I want to thank my brother, Josh Turner, because this crisis started in our zonal working committee meeting of the 30th January. And I am happy that my friend, the outgoing legal advisor of the party, Josh Turner, in the zone, warned the zonal working committee to tread with caution the issues of acting the bull in the China shop, the issues of hijacking a party, having conflict with the governors. Because we noted that it was having conflict with the governors in Edo State that caused us to temporarily lost Edo State to another party. And it was that same crisis in Cross River State. So leaving 4 states for PDP. So he, the outgoing legal advisor, Barrister Josh Turner, warned against having issues with governors, that we should carry governors along as leaders of the party in the zone. Therefore, the crux of the matter is that the meeting, the zonal working committee meeting in Benin was not properly constituted. Because it is the zonal working committee that has the right to approve, to fix a zonal executive committee, which will not give birth to a valid Congress. So there was no quorum. 6 members out of 10 cannot be 2/3 majority. The calculation is very wrong. The foundation is very poor, faulty, and you cannot put anything or something on anything and expect it to stand. That's the position of the law. You cannot put something on nothing and expect this to stand. So the foundation of forming or fixing of the zonal executive committee was faulty. So everything that was put subsumed on top of that foundation must fall and must fail.
Okay.
So to that extent, we have to be very, very careful in interpreting the Constitution.
All right, let me take it to Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, I would like you to respond to the background is given as to what was built on what made it a faulty ground that allowed the NWC to not to recognize the Congress that held in Calabar. But in addition to what he said, you know, if you read most of the Supreme Court judgments, which I like to read because it's a final court, you always see that issues around political parties should stay within political parties. Most of the time, that is the premise of the court. Whether it's membership or leadership, they were quite express in some of those things. But of course, politicians always go to court, no matter what, to test the law within their own unique situation. So now that the NWC has spoken, where does that leave your committee? And that's my question as you respond to some of the things he said.
I want to thank Channels Television, because for the first time since this crisis started, Nigerians will have the opportunity of now knowing the true facts as they were, and then how wrongly some of the gladiators on the other side have, you know, carried on. Now, my friend Bishop said that the crux of the problem is that the Zonal Executive Committee meeting, which had in Calabar, in Benin, was not properly convened, in the sense that the Constitution had provided that it is the Zonal Working Committee that should have approved the convening of that meeting. Now, that is not correct. I have the Constitution of the party here, and I will just read Article 27. Article 27 establishes the Zonal Executive Committee. Now, Article 27.2 states, Article 27.3 states the meetings, how Zonal Executive Committee meeting shall be convened. And he reads thus: the Zonal Executive Committee shall meet not less than once in every quarter at the instance of the National Vice Chairman. At the instance of the National Vice Chairman. There is no role the Zonal Working Committee in convening meetings of the Executive Committee. So they have been basking, you know, it is a wrong notion that they have, that it is the Zonal Executive Committee that should convene the Zonal Working Committee.
Mr. Turner, just because of time, my apologies. I want you to, I'm happy you're a lawyer. I want to read to you the functions of the Zonal Executive Committee.
Thank you.
Harmonize, coordinate, and review all activities of the party within the zone, establish ad hoc and standing committees, prepare agenda for and summon meetings of the Zonal Congress, prepare reports and budget for the consideration of the Zonal Congress, and carry out other functions assigned to it by the National Executive Committee. Nothing here says that the Zonal Committee shall conduct an election.
Now, thank you very much. Now, if you look at 2C that you read, the function, prepare agenda for and summon meetings of the Zonal Congress.
The key word I'm looking for is election. Mr. Turner, the key word I'm looking for is election.
Now, can you go to Article 28, which is now the Zonal Congress? Having summoned the meeting of the Zonal Congress, what should the Zonal Congress do? Go to the function, Article 28, sub 2, functions of the Zonal Congress, that the Zonal Executive Committee has powers to convene. He said the function of the Zonal Congress shall be to A, approve the budget of the party in the zone, and B, elect officers of the Zonal Working Committee. That is the function of the Zonal Congress. Officers.
All right, Mr. Turner, I think you've had your own time. Let me go to Mr. Bishop. I would like you to react. I needed to look at the law. So,
thank you very much.
Mr. Bishop, Bishop, please respond to some of the things that. No, Mr. Turner, leave Mr. Bishop to respond.
Yes, thank you very much. I am happy that Judge Turner was making reference to the guideline that was issued by the NEC. Because he has now provided annexes between the zone and the NEC vis-a-vis the conduct of the Congress. Now, if the Nigerian must know that the NEC that approved the guideline, that brought out the guidelines directing the zone for a Congress to be conducted through the guidelines, the same NEC haven't seen that the leadership of the party in the zone were operating or acting the bull in the China shop by sidelining governors and creating confusion. So the same NEC, upon our outcry, upon our petition to the NEC, now gave directive that the Congress should not be held. And to that extent, he who plays the Papa dictates the election. The NEC that link up with the zone by setting up the structure of this meeting of the Congress is telling the zone not to hold the very Congress because of the shenanigans created by the leadership of the party at the zonal level. So going against this directive is a serious aberration. And any action taken there is inconsequential, null and void, ab initio. So I am happy that my brother laid that proposition. Why should you, at the first instance, admit the guidelines brought out by the NEC? And when there was problem, when certain persons were trying to hijack the structure of the party without carrying along strategic stakeholders, and in order to avoid crisis of unprecedented dimension, the same now directed that the Congress be halted after proper consultation before we move forward. So that is also a major crisis, because even the zoning, we are talking about the South-South geopolitical zone that has 3 major blocks. We have the Edo Delta block that have produced 3 or 4 zonal chairmen of the zone. We are talking about Rivers Bayelsa, and Bayelsa has never produced the chairman. We are also talking about Akwa Ibom Cross River, which has only produced only 1 chairman, because the governors met and provided direction that the zonal chairman should move from the Edo Delta block that have produced 4 zonal chairmen, that it should be moved to Bayelsa Rivers block.
Okay.
Bayelsa has never produced the chairman. So these are the issues.
All right, I must thank you both. Apparently, the argument here seems to be about who should organize this Congress. Whether when the Constitution in that article says elect officers, it meant organize election. But I wish we had time to explore all of that. I must thank you both, because it's an ongoing conversation. And I know that the end of this year has fixed, I think, April the 12th for Congress. We don't know how that's going to play out. But, gentlemen, wish the PDP the very best. George Turner, PDP South-South Zonal Secretary. Bishop Etiman, immediate past PDP South-South Zonal Publicity Secretary. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the program. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga, and sure you enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.